This is really an existential time and an existential challenge to our republic, and make no bones about it. Congress, as has been said and my distinguished colleagues had said when they were here earlier, is that Congress is incapable of disciplining themselves. They have an addiction to power. That's why this doesn't happen. They don't want to give it to the states. They want to squash the states. They view state legislators as farm clubs for that. But in fact, you are the essence of our republic. And that whole view of the Constitution and Article 5 and the relationship of Congress and the federal government to the states needs to be reversed in the popular mind today. You know, it's a disgrace that that has happened. So Congress is now killing the golden goose that laid the golden egg, and they have no accountability. For example, you know, in my view of people in office, elected office, and the same in business, in which I've been in business and in government for substantial periods of time in both areas, and built companies, and that is you have a fiduciary responsibility to your voters, just like we do in business. We have a fiduciary responsibility to our shareholders. I have a fiduciary responsibility to our AMAC members. You have a fiduciary responsibility to your citizens, and you need to stand up and act for them. So anyway, the only oversight that's going to occur over the Congress is here. They take an oath that says we swear to support and defend the Constitution, yet there's no belt around them in terms of spending and what they do in regulatory. So they kick it down the hill and they duck it. So this is where we are in terms of overall. Now we have joined and embraced John Ramsey's Bill of Financial Responsibility, and you've seen some of these things out here. In this are the components that need to be addressed if we're really going to put a strong belt around the behavior of the federal government. And let me just quickly run through this, and hopefully I can operate this. So anyway, our Constitution says almost nothing about how our money should be managed. The federal government's tax and spending and regulation and fiscal accountability is out of control. Spending is from 4 million to 4 trillion plus, and no constitutional controls. Overall financial management of the federal government is bad and getting worse. I mean, they don't know what they're doing. We've heard numbers in terms of the national debt. They have no idea. And you know what? The general accepted accounting principles gap, they abide by those, but it's an advisory thing only. There's no real accountability. You've got to address that. It's more than just spending and taxes. Congress misapplies all the money from the Social Security and Medicare trust funds. The trust funds should be restored as trust funds. They should be moved off budget. They should be escrowed, and they should be permitted to operate as they were originally intended to, instead of being gamed, you know, by budget. I was in OMB, and this was a budget gaming kind of thing in terms of scorekeeping. That's ridiculous. Going on, Congress has proved it's inherently capable, and therefore it's only you states. It's only the states that have the ability and have the responsibility to stop those guys. Right now, it's a game. It's an economic plan. Who wins, who loses, how do we help here, how do we help there? That's really ridiculous. And I need to start thinking in terms of simple taxation. Balancing revenues and expenses. My colleagues have really dug into that. And fairly manage the regulatory process. Regulations are taxes, and they cost a lot of money. They cost $2 trillion in terms of business every year. We got to stop that. And regulations should not exceed the statutory authority by which they're authorized. That's got to be stopped. And professionally manage the federal trust funds. Again, move them back into true trust funds and have them managed under an industry-based board of trustees and have it invested so that you get a return. Chile gets a 3 times return on investment in their version of Social Security. And then our federal management of the Social Security Trust Fund is abominably slow and embarrassing. And utilizing proper accounting. For goodness sakes, you know, it seems to me you've got to force the Congress and the executive branch to apply general accepted accounting standards and principle. Otherwise, they continue to game it. The point was made earlier today. There's all the budget laws and that have been passed. The Graham-Rudman is like Swiss cheese. It's these kinds of things that you've got to turn to the states because they're out of control. They're irresponsible. They have no accountability in terms of what comes out of Congress. And today we have the worst of all worlds with Pelosi, Schumer, Biden, and that camp who are living this bubble of lack of reality. And look what they're trying to do to this country. It's existential. And I get stopped by people in the parking lot outside Starbucks. One guy came up to me and said, "Bob, this is really existential, isn't it?" Yes.